Welcome back to All This Math. This is Professor Parker. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you share the channel with somebody. Make sure you subscribe if you're not already subscribed. All right, now, what are we doing today? Today, we're going to factor out the GCF from an algebraic expression. Now, when I teach this, I tell students this. I say, look at your expression, read it, 9y to the fifth power plus y squared, right? Identify your coefficients first. Identify your coefficients. What is a coefficient? The coefficient is basically the big number that is adjacent to or next to the variable or a group of variables. It indicates how many of that variable are present. So instead of there being 1y to the fifth, there are 9 of them. All right. So we got 9 right here. Over here, I don't see no number. It ain't no big number written there. Does that mean that there's no coefficient? No, that's not what it means. Whenever there's no coefficient written, that means it's a positive 1. Plus sign and a variable, the coefficient is an invisible 1. You can write it if you want to, right? But we don't need to write the coefficient when it's a 1. Just like we don't need to write the coefficient if it's a negative 1. If it's a negative 1, we just need the minus sign in front of the variable. All right? So what I tell students is this. I say, look at the coefficients first. You got a 9 and you got a 1. Take the GCF of the coefficients, in this case, the 9 and the 1. Now, what's the GCF of 9 and 1? It's 1. 1 is the biggest number that can multiply into both 1 and into 9, which means they are what we call co-prime, or relatively prime. Whenever 2 numbers or 3 numbers or 4 numbers or however many numbers have a common factor, a GCF of 1, that means they're called co-prime or relatively prime. All right, so look. What I also like to do is this. When I'm doing problems like this, I like to just write the GCF off to the side somewhere. So I know part of the GCF is going to have a 1 in it, right? Because that's the GCF of my coefficients. Then I look at the variables. I got a y to the fifth and a y to the second. Because I got y to the fifth and I got y to the second. When you're trying to find the GCF of variables, if the variable is common, see the C in GCF stands for common, meaning it's present in both terms or in all the terms. Y is present in both terms. It's a y right here and a y right there. Which one is the GCF though? The GCF is the y with the smaller exponent, This 2 is an exponent, this 5 is an exponent. What's the smaller number? Of course, 2 is less than 5. 2 is less than 5. That means your GCF is going to have y squared in it. So this is your GCF. And also, again, we got a coefficient of 1. Do I need to write that 1? No, I don't. So if I clean this up, the GCF is just y squared. Now, this is how I'm going to write this in factored form. Put the equal sign, write the GCF, y squared, put parentheses like that. Now, what's going to go inside the parentheses? 2 terms. Where those 2 terms are going to come from? And first of all, how do I know 2 terms are going to go inside the parentheses? Because we started out with 2 terms. If we start out with 2 terms in the original expression, that means we're going to have the same amount of terms inside the parentheses. We start out with 2, we end with 2. We start out with 2, we end with 2. All right. Now, where do the terms come from? We're going to do some division. We're going to divide the first term by the GCF. So that means we're going to do 9y to the fifth divided by y squared. Now, you got to know how to do this. You got to know the exponent properties of division, right? Well, you got to know all the exponent properties. One of them is the exponent property of division, or what we call the division rule or division property, which says that when you're dividing the same variable or the same number, you subtract the exponents. So you do 5 minus 2, which gives us 3, right? Now, this is a shortcut. There's a much more lengthy conceptual explanation that I'm not about to do right here, because I've done it in other videos on my playlist on exponent rules, all right, on this channel. That's why you need to be subscribed. All right, so 5 minus 2 is 3. So that's y to the third. But look, what do I do with this 9? The coefficient 9 gets divided by this invisible 1. 9 divided by 1 is 9. And then y to the fifth divided by y to the second is y to the third. So that's 9y to the third. That's what that equals. That's the quotient. Right? Now, where does the 9y to the third go? It goes inside the parentheses. Boom. Now, then we do the same thing. We divide the first term by the GCF, then we divide the second term by the GCF. Now the second term is the GCF. So we do y squared divided by y squared. Now what happens when you divide something by the same thing? You always get 1. It's always going to be 1. Boom. So where do I put the 1? And it's a positive 1, so you put plus 1. So this is our final answer. Y squared, and this is how you read it. Make sure you know how to read it out loud. Y squared times the quantity of, it's a quantity of whatever's inside the parentheses. The parentheses holds a quantity. It holds an amount. So y squared times the quantity of 9y cubed plus 1. Y squared times the quantity of 9y cubed plus 1. All right? That's what we got. All right? And that's our answer. And that's how you factor. So just look at the steps. The steps are you identify the coefficients, take the GCF for the coefficients. Look at the variables that they have in common. Take the GCF for the common variables. That's your GCF. Then you take each original term, divide each original term by the GCF. In this case, it was y squared. Throw those quotients inside the parentheses, and you're done. All right, now wait, before I end the video, if you ever want to check your work, factoring is the opposite of distributing or multiplying out. So therefore, I should be able to take this GCF multiplied by each term in the parentheses, and my result should be the original expression. My result should be the original expression. So you can play with that and make sure that your answer is correct. All right. So like I said, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you ain't already subscribed, share the video with somebody, go get some practice with these. I'll see y'all on the next video. Peace.